let's talk about one of the most critical documents any founder will ever create, the cap table. Today, we're going to break down how to build one that doesn't just track who owns what. It needs to tell a story that shows investors you are serious, you're strategic, and you are ready to build something massive. Okay, let's really lean into this idea, because it's the whole ballgame. An investor, a good one, doesn't just see a list of names and percentages on your cap table. No way. They see a story about your judgment, your character, and your plan. A messy one? It just screams that you don't get it yet. But a clean one? Well, that tells them you're ready to play in the big leagues. So, here's the game plan. First up, we'll get into why your cap table is so much more than numbers on a page. Then, we'll cover the really common mistakes that can absolutely kill a deal. After that, it's all about solutions. Your day one structure, how to handle those early stakeholders, and finally, how all this work lets you walk into a fundraise from a position of real strength. All right, first things first. I want you to think about your cap table less like a boring spreadsheet and more like a mirror. Seriously, it reflects every single important decision you've made from the very beginning, and it shows investors exactly how you operate. So what is it, really? On the surface, sure, it's a list of who owns what, founders, investors, employees, but a smart VC sees so much more. They see in a single glance how you treat your team, if you've been smart about the company's future, and whether you've laid a foundation that's built to scale or one that's just going to crumble under pressure. And this is what they're actually looking for when they read it. They're not just double-checking the math. They're stress-testing your judgment. They're asking themselves, did these founders give away the farm before they even got started? Do they still own enough to stay hungry? They're looking for little bits of messiness that will scare off the next round of funding. They are literally trying to predict your future by analyzing your past. Okay, let's get into the stuff that can save you a world of hurt. The common mistakes. These are the red flags we see pop up over and over again, especially with first-time founders, that can stop a fundraising process dead in its tracks. So, what are these deal-killing mistakes we're talking about? What are the things that make an investor hit the brakes? Or worse, just get up and walk away from the table? This is the classic. You're just starting, you're full of energy, a mentor gives you some advice, a friend makes a great intro, and in all that excitement, you offer them a piece of the company. Before you know it, you've handed out 15% of your dream before you've even shipped a product. It just signals a lack of discipline. The second huge mistake is just clutter. Look, having a dozen tiny investors from your friends and family on the cap table isn't a sign of popularity. It's a sign of a future logistical nightmare. Every time you need a signature for a future deal, you have to chase all those people down. Investors want to see a tight, focused professional ownership group. And this right here, this is exactly what that mess looks like to an investor. They see this chart and immediately their brain is filled with questions. Who is this advisor who got 5%? What did the friend with 2% do to earn a slice that big? These little random pieces, they just scream poor judgment. It's not just messy, it looks amateur. Okay, enough with the problems. Let's talk about the solution. Getting this right from day one is all about discipline and thinking ahead. This is your blueprint for a clean, professional cap table. Your co-founder split is one of the very first and most important decisions you'll make. The easy way out is blind equality, just splitting it 50-50 to avoid a tough talk. But the right path is a thoughtful split. Yeah, it means a hard conversation right now about who's really bringing what to the table, but it prevents a massive company-killing fight later. And trust me, investors respect this. It shows you're mature enough to have the tough conversations. Next up, you absolutely have to plan for the future. Even before you've hired a single person, you need to create an employee option pool. The industry standard is to set aside 10 to 15% of your total equity just for future hires. If you don't do this now, you'll be forced to dilute yourself later to attract that key engineer you need, and that is a really painful hit to take when you're under pressure. This is so critical, especially for technical founders. You're the one in the trenches building the thing. You have to stay motivated for the long, long journey ahead. A VC will literally model out your next funding round and ask, will this founder still own enough after this check to stay hungry? If the answer is no, they might just walk away. Protecting your ownership isn't selfish, it is a core part of your strategy. So that brings us to the next level of complexity, how you manage the people who join you early on. We're talking co-founders, advisors, and those first investors who come in using things like safes or convertible notes.
Listen, this is completely non-negotiable. Everybody, and I mean everybody, including you and your co-founders, needs to be on a vesting schedule. The standard is a 4-year plan with a 1-year cliff. What does that mean? It means for the first year, you earn nothing. If you hit your 1-year anniversary, boom, 25% of your equity vests. The rest then trickles in monthly over the next 3 years. This protects the company. If a co-founder bails after 6 months, they don't get to walk away with a huge chunk of your company.
And here's a super simple, powerful rule for advisors. Equity has to be tied to real commitment. If someone isn't willing to put in actual, consistent time, we're talking hours every single month, they probably don't deserve a piece of your company. A one-off introduction is great, but it's not worth 1% of your future. Now, let's talk about a very common trap: safes and convertible notes. So many founders raise their first bit of cash on these and think, great, I still own 100% of my company. But that's not really true, is it? These things are basically IOUs for future equity. They convert into ownership later during your first big funding round. You absolutely must model out how these notes are going to convert so you can see what your ownership will actually look like down the road. If you don't, you're just flying blind. And all of this brings us to the final and most important part. All this hard work, all the discipline, the tough conversations, the careful planning, it all leads to one thing: giving you real leverage when it's time to go out and raise serious money. When it comes down to it, you're really choosing between two paths. A messy cap table, it just signals desperation. And that leads to bad terms because investors know they have you over a barrel. But a clean, professional cap table, that signals strength. It lets you negotiate from a position of power. And it helps you attract the best investors, not just the ones who will take a chance on you. So when you finally get into that room with VCs, don't just email them a spreadsheet. You need to do 3 things. 1, tell the story. Explain the why behind your structure. 2, if you did make a mistake, be upfront about it. Own it, and explain how you cleaned it up. That shows maturity. And 3, be prepared. Know your numbers and your structure inside and out. Real confidence comes from that level of preparation. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Take a hard look at your own cap table, or the one you're about to build. What story is it telling? Is it the story of a founder who is disciplined, thoughtful, and absolutely serious about building a company that can go the distance? Because ultimately, that's the story that gets funded.